Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Rooted and Grounded podcast. As always, got Wayne Miller to my left, Matt Miller to the right.
What's up?
The Millers.
Hardison behind the scenes, and I'm Matt Brown in the middle.
That's right.
We're glad to be
in the middle.
Yes, glad to be here today. And so, guys, I know we normally like to start off with some jokes and keep things pretty lighthearted. And I don't know exactly when this episode will air, but a couple of days ago we had our fifth Sunday Round 'em Up, Bring 'em In. And I know y'all tried to have some jokes at the beginning.
Wait a minute, tried? No,
And I just don't know that joking is what we need to do to start the episode today.
Yeah, they were worked out real good, but it ended up being the epitome of what a dad joke is. And not even good.
Maybe like a stepdad joke.
For sure, man.
I don't want to say they fell flat because, they didn't get lifted off the ground to even fall.
The first one, I thought, uh-oh.
Yeah, we knew we were in trouble.
The second one, I couldn't even talk.
Yeah.
Wayne was looking at me. I ran out of words.
Yeah. So,
and I put that date down because that's never happened.
That is so good. That's so funny.
So I guess on behalf of 109 and everyone that was here, just wanted to pass that complaint along.
Yeah,
to
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I got a text from a fellow, and he said, "Boy, it was a great night, but y'all's jokes."
I guess they were like the horses that needed to be put out to pasture.
That's right.
Yeah, they have been.
Yeah. All right. So today we are going to talk about the Ascension of Christ. And guys, I'm curious, have you all ever done a lesson specifically on the Ascension?
Not just, it's always been connected with something like, as far as the resurrection, the ascension, and then even probably in the return, like they've all just been kind of connected, but I've never really done a standalone, just thought about and meditated on the ascension.
Yeah.
I have, but I'm sure, as I think back, I called it the Ascension of Christ, but, I had to connect it with other things, but it was the main drive. But
yeah. Well, and really, as I was working on putting the outline together, it's like, I don't think I've ever heard a lesson specific to this. And I was even having a little trouble coming up with the lesson because it is so interconnected to a lot of things that we've been talking about and that we're going to talk about. And so if you want to follow along, we'll start off in Acts chapter 1 today and look and see what Luke has to say about this key event in the life of Christ, because really I think in a lot of ways the ascension is the necessary finale for this part of Jesus. Right. Because if there's no ascension, either Jesus dies and he's like Lazarus where he's just dead again, or he's a 2,000-year-old person. Right. And like the ascension ends up being the logical conclusion, but it's that one that we don't think about often. So in Acts chapter 1, beginning in verse 6, it says, "So when they had come together, they asked him, 'Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel?' He said to them, 'It is not for you to know times or seasons that the Father has fixed by his own authority. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth.' And when he had said these things, as they were looking on, he was lifted up, and a cloud took him out of their sight. And while they were gazing into heaven as he went, behold, two men stood by them in white robes and said, 'Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into heaven? This Jesus who is taken up from you into heaven will come in the same way as you saw him go into heaven.'" And so, Matt, let's start really with the big picture first. What does the ascension mean? What does this story mean in context, really the story of God and the story of Christ?
We talked about, me and Wayne were talking about this, and this statement just, I think, really nails it, especially for me, and I know Wayne as well. The ascension is not Jesus leaving the story, but moving it forward from earthly ministry to his heavenly ministry and really heavenly reign. And so I think that for me, when I think about the ascension, it is it's just it's the continuation of God's will being revealed. And no doubt, like, it's a big deal, but there's still more to this story. You know what I'm saying? Like, the thing that I'm encouraged by is this. He is the name above all names. He is the one that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. There's no doubt about it. But there's still more that is coming through this. But the ascension is just that next step in this. Like, we've paused on this, but like you said, there's so many things connected to it. But if you pause and just wait, this move here, it's prophecy being fulfilled. It's, there's a lot of things now. He's seated at the right hand. Like, now all of a sudden he's the one who's making intercession for us, and we're praying through his name. Like, a lot of things that, now I pray through Jesus and I can come boldly to the throne. And that's because he was received. Not only was he the perfect sacrifice, but he's well received by the Father into heaven. And, that's his prayer in John 17. I know we'll kind of dance around that, but just in that broad sense, I think, a lot of things start colliding and takes us to the next step in what Christianity is going to look like. Because with him ascending to heaven now, all of a sudden, he is, Hebrews 7, 25, 26, that whole area, it's very personal to me, because he lives to make intercession for us. And that's because he was able to ascend to the right hand of the Father because of what he did. Like, from it is finished to now let me help you with something.
I think when you say it is finished, I think sometimes in redemption, salvation, I think sometimes we stop too soon. And as you were thinking about that, I remember here 3 or 4 days ago coming into the office, and I'd stopped, and there's a fellow in front of me. And we came to a stop sign, and I noticed, and I'm saying to myself, what are we doing stopping back here? We're still several feet from the road, and you're already stopped, and you're peering right and left and everything else. And I'm saying, dude, there could be another car get here before you get out to the road where we're turning. And I'm going, you stopped way too soon. And that's exactly what I think sometimes we do with the story of redemption. We say, okay, Jesus crucified on the cross, shed his blood, all correct. But there's more. We've been talking a lot, but there's more than that. And what we find is, after the resurrection, the story continues. And we stop too soon sometimes, I think, in talking about the story of redemption, because the ascension is a big deal, a big part of our redemption.
Right. Yeah, the ascension, the ascension is the proof that Jesus' ministry on earth was what it needed to be. Because if he if he doesn't live the life that he's supposed to live, and no doubt the resurrection is a proof of that as well. But the ascension, he leaves this earth and goes back into heaven, and that is actually what he says in John 17. And I know that is one of those that's one of those stories that we get from this idea of being the first fruit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that example of Jesus's faithfulness and the way that he lived his life is that example of what is to come for us too. So that ascension, that gives us, and I know that the next part that we'll talk about, the return, like it bleeds into that idea. But his acceptance into heaven is only going to happen because of his perfect performance. You know what I'm saying? Like, is a perfect performance, man.
Right. And he completed
standing ovation, man. Standing ovation.
And he completed it.
Yes.
What he was sent to do.
Well, and I think the point you brought up right at the very beginning of this was the completion of the earthly ministry.
That's right.
Jesus is still very active.
For sure.
Exactly.
But this was the culmination of phase 1.
Yep.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, right.
Exactly right.
And so, Wayne, as we look at this passage a little closer, verse 6 and 7, I think kind of present a challenging question. Jesus is, not Jesus. Yes, Jesus. Sorry. They're asking.
We love Jesus.
Yes. Yes. Trying to figure out who's speaking here. All right. So
I love it.
The followers are asking, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? And so there's this very earthly mindset. And then Jesus responds in verse 7 where he says, it's not for you to know.
Yeah.
Talk us through these two verses.
Yeah. Well, when you look at verse 6 and 7, guys, it's interesting because when Jesus talked about the kingdom and the apostles or the disciples, his followers, had the kingdom in their mind, it was two different ideas. Because as I look at it, and even if you go back and look at the ministry of Christ, when he had the apostles teaching them over and over and over, even back in John chapter 18, you remember verse 36, Jesus said, listen, my kingdom is not of this world. He's already channeling them, trying to channel their thinking and their mindset to something different and something greater and far more significant than a political kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read those words, it reminds me of the fact that here they have the ideal of that earthly, that political kingdom where all of a sudden Christ is going to come and we're going to defeat all the enemies of Israel and we're going to restore it back to like it, and set up a throne in Jerusalem and et cetera, et cetera. We don't have time to get all into. So they're thinking one way. Jesus is thinking another. He's spiritual. They seem to be focused on the earthly. And there's something there about in verse 7, it is not time for you to know, because they kept asking him in verse 6. And I found it interesting that when it says they were asking, if you look up that word, guys, it means they were just, what I would say is, they just bugging the daylights out of him. Okay? Right. In other words, that word says they kept asking again and again and again. Those of us have children and grandchildren. I mean, maybe you've been in a grocery store and, this kid keeps asking mom or grandma or whoever about wanting this piece of candy. And they just keep on and keep on. And there's times where I want to go, I'll buy the candy if you'll just get them to quit asking.
That's right.
I mean, and I think that's what they were doing. They would just keep on asking him again and again. And it's like, when, Lord, when? Because we want this earthly kingdom. And Jesus said, listen, guys. And then he points out a couple of things. It's not for you to know. Don't worry about the when. And he answered in verse 8, you'll know the how. And you'll see the fulfillment of that, of course, in chapter 2. But he says the important thing is not when, it's how it's going to come. And it's going to come with power from on high through the Spirit. The fulfillment of verse 8 is found in chapter 2.
Yeah.
And so the real emphasis to me was not that Jesus was trying to, or the apostles rather, was trying to get an understanding when we're going to have victory again. Mm-hmm. And Jesus said, oh, you'll know when you have victory.
Well, you're talking about this, the physical kingdom, and their mindset is right in the idea that there is going to be a kingdom.
That's right.
And I think the beauty of Jesus, in John 16, when he says that it's necessary for the Spirit to come. It's better that I leave so that the Spirit can come. Well, he don't leave until he ascends. And so back to this idea. Jesus is shifting and changing, and he's about to open up something that they have no idea about, because now it's the church's mission. And really, I think about them boys. I think about Peter making the good confession, and I think about when Jesus says to him, based on that confession, I'm going to build my church, and the gates of Hades cannot contain what this is. I'm about to do something that you never thought was going to happen, especially the way it's going to happen. To use people like, me and you, people who don't know all the things, and you're going to be able to touch people's lives as well. But one thing I wanted to say was this ascension, it unlocks that commission or that job of a kingdom, which is the kingdom of Christ. And so I think one thing that I have put on here, Pentecost, and Wayne alluded to this in Acts 2. It followed the ascension, and it marked the beginning of the church's mission. Mm-hmm. And so none of that is going to take place. And Jesus is trying to tell them, you don't need to, like, quit trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes, and I get it. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, I got like several prayers I'm praying right now that I'm trying to figure out. And it's the same deal. He's like, calm down, follow me. Let me lead you. And he can lead from heaven, you know? It's just, I love it.
Well, you think about it. With Jesus on earth, everyone was tethered to Jesus.
That's right.
Physically.
Yes,
with the
sir.
exception of like when he sends out the 70 for that time period, everyone is with Jesus. And as long as he's on this earth, whether it's 3 years or 30 years, that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not until he goes that you see the church start in the next chapter. And then you see Judea and Samaria and the ends of the earth and the Great Commission fulfilled only when Jesus ascends.
Yeah.
But he ascends with power. He gives power to us through the Holy Spirit when he does that. And so the ascension really becomes this crowning moment.
Yeah.
And this substantial piece of the story of faith and the church.
Exactly
because
right.
if this doesn't happen, where are we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Really, like if Jesus does not ascend, what does that mean
Yeah.
for us?
That's right. I mean, he says, just thinking about meditating and focusing on the ascension, really what's happening to me even in this moment, just thinking about him saying to those boys, it is better that I go.
Right.
It's better. And I'm like, no, I want Jesus here. And it's like, no, it's better that I go. And you said it. Look what happened when he left. Right. It's not like he's out of the game. Like, and that was the beginning of, what I said when we started. It's not Jesus leaving the story. It's Jesus moving to where he needs to be so that we all can be a part of it too. It's like I was looking at John 17 where he says at the very end, O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known that you sent me, and I have declared to them your name, and will declare it, that the love with which you loved me may be in them, and I in them. They don't fully understand. I mean, they don't know exactly what all that means yet, but they're going to see, and they're going to, the Spirit is going to start giving them utterance, and they're going to be like, what is happening? I mean, even when Jesus is getting ready to ascend, and he opens their minds and opens their hearts to the scriptures, in Luke 24. It's like he unlocks something that had been missing, and here we are, 2020 vision, and just to see how much the Lord loved and believed in his church is amazing to me. Because, I mean, y'all know this. It's better for me to just go ahead and do it than to task somebody else to do it. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, I'm going to go a far distance away from, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to just go to heaven, and we're going to work this another way, and we're going to see what you can do. I mean, this is something special that Jesus does that doesn't necessarily make sense to them in that time, I think.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It was just like right over their heads. And, something through all of this that I see too is I can't help but be thinking about how patient Christ must have been. Because, he'd been telling them all along, and about it's better to me to be apart from you and for me to go, and them sitting there. And it's just like they just didn't grasp it. But one of the things that's encouraging to me is Jesus never rebuked them for their misunderstanding and not getting it.
Yeah.
He just continued to.
Yeah.
And, sometimes we grow impatient with people trying to grow in their faith and the journey of their life with Christ. And Jesus just, I can almost see him, in my own mind, Jesus just shaking his head. Guys, come on. How many more times have I got to tell you?
Yeah.
Or it's like, being a parent. How many times have I told you?
Yeah.
And it's just like they just can't get that kingdom and that church in their mind because of what they were anticipating with the earthly kingdom,
right. So as we've got one more thing I want us to cover, and really that focuses on verse 11, because there's one other thing with the ascension that is yet to happen, and really this sets us up for the next episode, but that is the fact that Christ is going to return. And so let me read verse 11 for us. Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into heaven? This Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will come in the same way as you saw him go into heaven. So guys, what is this angel trying to tell the followers of Jesus?
Be ready.
That's right.
Be looking. I mean, Paul, of any of the apostles, and I know they've all touched it in some way, especially in the scriptures, but Paul says Maranatha. I mean, his eyes are fixed. I mean, for all intensive purposes, in 1 Thessalonians 4, he thought he was going to be alive when Jesus came back. I mean, that's how excited and ready he was. And I'm like, is that the same intensity that, I'm just throwing this one on the table. Or do we all, as Christians, say, we'll live our life all the way to the end and then die, and then we'll go to heaven one day? Or do we literally say, Maranatha, Lord,
Come,
today you can come. I'm good.
Yeah. Are we more like that, or are we more like the days of Noah?
That's right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that kind of back a little bit, like when Jesus ascends, there's a transition that's taking place on purpose. And the transition is from Jesus, his physical appearance, to the church being that physical appearance. But the same message is being proclaimed. Live your life the way that you need to live, because Jesus is coming back, right? There is an urgency, and it's seizing the moment. And Paul talks about that, like seize the day. Like today is the day. I mean, the Hebrew writer, not tomorrow, but today. Don't harden your heart. There's this press, because you never know. And that was the same thing that them angels told the apostles that day is, hey, same way that he left, same way he's coming back. Well, when? We don't know. It could be today.
It's almost like a play on words.
Started right there, man.
A play on words. They were sitting there gazing, and I can only imagine.
Oh, man, I'd be lost in the sky.
You're talking about glued in.
What? He's gone?
Yeah, and I think it's okay, now, with that intensity, the way you're gazing now, don't lose that.
That's right.
Don't lose that. You
That's right.
keep that intensity.
Yeah.
Keep that anticipation, because he's coming,
Yeah. Yeah, this kind of reminds me of like a legendary ball coach or a legendary ball player that leaves, and it's like, what are we going to do? And the difference in that is sometimes those teams never recover when they lose that player, because there's nobody like that player. But this game is different. Because our guy didn't just leave the game, he stepped it up. And what he did was he put people in the ball game that you would never believe could be a star. It's like, what?
They'd have never made the team.
Never even made. They'd have been cut. Yes. I mean, Acts 4 is that perfect uneducated fisherman. Like,
Exactly.
Who are they in here talking this bold to us, man? And know what they're talking about. It was just because that's why I think maybe Jesus is just in heaven on those moments, even for us today, and he's just like,
you know why he could talk? They could talk it because they'd been with him.
They've been with him. That's right.
That's the story.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'd been with him.
They've been touched by him, haven't they? Yeah.
That's right.
No, so certainly like I said earlier, just such a significant part of the story of God.
Yep. Yes.
So while we're at this transition point, let's go ahead and wrap up and think about making it real. And so,
Man, already?
Yeah, we're
man.
already at 25 minutes. So,
Wow.
Man, I'm twisting this cord over here. I'm getting fired up, boys.
Getting fired up.
I got Hardy fired up over there.
So, Matt, you want to go first?
Okay. As we've talked about this, I'm kind of circling back to that first thought. Jesus didn't leave the story. And even in that moment when those, disciples, I mean, who wouldn't have been sad?
Yeah.
Who would have not have been, man, the Lord is leaving us. And he said to them, I will not leave you as orphans.
Right.
I am not going to leave you, unprotected. And that day in Acts 2, when the Spirit came on them boys, they knew it. They knew.
And that's what he said, wasn't it?
And it is exactly what he said. So I just for me, listen to Jesus. I mean, what he says is not only true, it's going to benefit you.
Yeah.
So, he ascended for a specific reason, and that was to sit at the right hand of the Father and to make intercession to help us out, to continue to help us out. And so that's just kind of where I'm at right now, man.
Top that one, Wayne.
No, I have to. Okay, I'll top that one. Exalted.
That's right.
Exalted, because I think what the ascension does
That's right.
is that those of us who are united with Christ,
Yep.
then guys, just remember, the ascension of Jesus assures us
Yep.
of an eternal place and calls us to live in such a way. Because you look at Ephesians 2:6, Jesus was raised up, seated
Yep.
with God in the heavenly places in Christ Jesus is the promise for us.
Yep.
Amen. And I would say for me, ascension for us is both a present and a future event. So obviously we hope to meet Christ in heaven on the last day, but Christ is also in the process of ascending us currently. He calls us to be better, to be deeper followers of him, to do more. And you see that through the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
At all the apostles and what they were able to do after Jesus left. And that's the same Spirit that we've been given and that we should work on ascending with.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
Man, this is great.
This was a fun
boys.
one. Yeah.
That's great.
All right.
Loved it.
Well, we will do it all again in a couple of weeks. We'll hope you will join us again. Take care.